All right, our spiritual service starts in 4 minutes and 38 seconds. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. Or shall I say it this way? Welcome home. So good to be with you all.
I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor here. It's good to be with you tonight. And shoot, I don't even know where my cameras are, what camera I'm looking into. So I'm going to guess. I'm looking into this one. For all of you online people, we're glad you're back with us. I know it's been a month, so welcome to our new home. We're glad you're part of this community. If you're joining us from one of your free circles or sober living houses or one of your kitchen or living room meetings, we're glad you're part of this community. Speaking of, this community is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees, people who feel like they've been kicked around by religion. They've been told they don't belong when it comes to the God stuff. This community is for you. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. So again, I'm so glad you guys are here. I've got like these first day of school butterflies. You know what I mean? I'm nervous. My hands are sweating. The butterflies are going. It lets us know that we're still alive and breathing and that we care about this stuff. So bear with me tonight as I work through some nerves. All right, y'all. I want to start with this. Man, if you weren't here a month ago, or if this is your first time in this space, a lot has happened. A lot. Total renovation, total transformation. So here's what I want you to do. Because this was not a one person project, this wasn't a two-person project, this was a whole community thing. So if you were part of volunteering in this space in the last month, I don't care if you just lifted a paintbrush or maybe you brought a roll of toilet paper or maybe you mopped the floor, whatever. If you volunteered in any way, would you just stand up? Y'all made this happen. Y'all made this happen. I want to say a couple other thank yous. I mean, seriously, none of this could have happened without the hundreds, and I mean it was over 100 volunteers who were in this space on the daily making this happen with painting and remodeling and flooring and lights and ceilings. And sorry, my mic's cutting out a little bit. We'll get that resolved. We're gonna have a few bumps tonight, so bear with us. It's our first time in this space. We were just hanging projectors last night, and um, uh, this place came together in this room, particularly in the last just couple of days. So we'll work out some kinks along the way. But I want to also thank, man, we don't just have a good staff here at Free. We have the very best staff. If you are a staff member here at Free, would you please stand? And these people have gone above and beyond in so many ways. Would you please stand and let's give them a hand? We got Danny Colella back there. We've got Christy Pauley, who's our bookkeeper. Danny's our digital content director. Alyssa Zetek is our children's director. She's the director of Free Kids and Family Empowerment. We've got Noelle Holskin in the house, who is our vision implementation lead. I mentioned Christy, our bookkeeper, and we have a new staff member joining us next week. Her name is Saman Meyer. She's going to be our community coordinator. She's going to work with lots of outside groups and get us all situated here at Free in this big space. So grateful for y'all. And if you are part of the Free Board of Directors, these people keep us on track. They have also gone above and beyond and spent countless hours here over the past month. Would you stand if you're part of the Board of Directors? Jeremy, Rainwater, Jen, Kochel, Lance, Willoughby, Jerome Eichstead in the back. And I know we don't have them all here. We're missing a couple. Eric Arnold. Shoot, I shouldn't get into names because I'm going to miss people. Eric Arnoldy, Robin Peterson. Ryan Nuss is Ryan. Where's Ryan? Oh, he's all the way. He's in the dark. That's why I couldn't see him. He's wearing a black sweater. That's the problem. Man, these people have gone above and beyond. The staff, the board, you volunteers, and y'all listen. Is my wife in the house? I hope she is. Where is she? Where is she? Tammy, would you come up front for a moment? Do we have some Jeopardy music we can play? You don't even have to say anything. I just want people to see your face. Y'all listen, we started this thing together. We're co-founders of Free. We started this thing together 3 years ago, and I'm telling you, it's been long hours here this month. It's taken a physical toll. We've been tired, but it's been good. And she's been on point on the home front, and she does so much here behind the scenes. I can't even explain it to y'all. So show her lots of love tonight. Appreciate you, honey. And she's going to join me back up here for a minute in celebrations. I want to say one more thank you. Do we have any folks from University Park United Methodist Church in the house? Could you stand? We got a couple back there. Yes. And I know your pastor, Reverend Andy Dunning, was here just a little bit ago. He had to take off, but man, a huge gift was given to us when I called Andy when we got our 60-day notice. And I said, dude, we don't have a home. I mean, we've got all this people, but we don't know where we're going to go, and we're getting kicked out of this place. And he said, come check this out. And that started the ball rolling, and y'all, it's been a huge gift. So we are so grateful for the folks just a mile up the road at University Park United Methodist Church, where I actually used to be on staff and was doing campus ministry. So in a very real sense, it's good to be home. It's good to be here. I want to let y'all know of one other thing we've got going on soon. Do y'all remember our Sober Open Mic Nights? Yeah, we're getting back to Sober Open Mic Nights. We're partnering in January with The Phoenix. They're like a sober gym. They're like sobriety and recovery for active people. They're going to partner with us here. We don't have the date. We're meeting this week to plan that out, but we're getting back to Sober Open Mic Nights. And how cool is this space going to be for Sober Open Mic Nights? So if you have a gift you want to share, music, art, comedy, whatever y'all do, we want to welcome that in this space, and I'll be shooting you the dates soon for that, and it's going to be all kinds of fun. All right, y'all, here's how we start at Free. Y'all know this. You're like my people. We start with celebrations. We lift up the good stuff. We don't ignore the hard stuff, but we don't start with the hard stuff. We save it for the end. We start with celebrations. So we're going to take 3 minutes. If you're online, take 3 minutes. Give it to us in the comments. Give it to us in the Facebook comments, the YouTube comments, or if you're on the website, you can find a way to jump on another platform and do it. But if you're here, we'll do it in person. Maybe you're celebrating a sobriety anniversary, a birthday, a new job, whatever it is new in life. We want to celebrate that with you. And there's something so powerful about celebrating together, and God joins with us in those celebrations. So I want you all to take 3 minutes. Danny, where do they go for this? Right now, stand up here. Okay, so no microphone? Okay, if you're comfortable with it, come up to the microphone and share with us your celebration. We want to celebrate it with you, and there'll be 1,000 people online celebrating with you too. If you're not comfortable with the microphone, just stand where you are, but you got to talk really loud, and I'm going to make you talk really loud. Are you with me? All right, y'all, take 3 minutes to give us your celebrations.
Hello world, wake me up to another good morning, time to go.
And you just slip up your hand too if that works better. Right? And we'll bring them a mic. Now you got to come to the mic. Come on, Mr. Rainwater.
Yeah, I'm going for the ride. And by myself I am alive, and I soar. Still I run toward the wind. Let the challenge draw me in, 'cause I want more.
We closed on our house 2 days ago.
All right, the Rainwaters closed on their house 2 days ago. Celebrate with you, Rainwaters. Now it's working.
How you doing? I left conventional work and I'm working full time to build my retreat in Ecuador.
All right, building a retreat in Ecuador. Just a small thing.
I picked up a year clean sober a couple weeks ago.
How many?
A year.
All right, dude, what's your name?
Oh, my name's Patrick.
Way to go, Patrick. 1 year sober.
I'm Nicole and this is Kira, and we opened our own boutique yesterday.
Yes! Nicole's going to be our guest storyteller next week. Not to point her out or anything, but it's going to be good. Congratulations, ladies. Yeah, Mitch.
I'm Mitch. After 15 years at the same job, I'm taking on a new job next week.
All right, Mitch, congratulations.
Hey, Pastor.
Take it away, Jeff.
I'm Jeff, and I'd like to celebrate my parents, Mike and Sharon's first time celebrating with us at Free, all the way down from Cheyenne, Wyoming. Thank you.
Woo!
I just picked up a year on the 30th.
Brittany got a year. Way to go, Brittany.
My name's Baird. I celebrated 5 years of sobriety on December 2nd.
All right, dude. It's good to see you.
Hey y'all, I'm Shannon, and I just finished 30 days of in-house treatment at All Points North. I'm really excited about that. Just got back, celebrating a new job at National Cattlemen's Beef Association starting Monday.
That's awesome. Congratulations, Shannon. I'm glad you're here. We got time for one more. Jonathan's got it.
I don't know where he is, but Bill celebrated 50 years of sobriety in November. So
Yes, he
Bill,
did.
stand up.
Bill, are you in the house? There he is, 50 years sober. Do y'all see why we need to celebrate? You see all the goodness in the world, in the midst of darkness, all the goodness that happens. That's why we celebrate. Tam, come back up here with me. Now, here's what we do. If you're new with us, we because we include our online people, we have community in every different state all around the world, and they celebrate with us. And I know many of them are happy to be back. So we're going to read some of them, and we're going to celebrate with them, even though you can't see them. Does it sound good? Let's do it. You take the first one.
Can we celebrate the 50 years real quick, too? With the online, because I didn't hear that.
What's 50 years?
50 years of sobriety. Did I hear that?
Oh, Bill has 50 years sober this
yeah.
last month.
To share that with the online
Yeah,
community.
y'all need to hear that.
Awesome.
You can get sober and stay sober. Thank you, Bill. All right. Do we have him on a monitor here? I mean, we look good on there, though. Should we skip this part? Or should we keep standing up here looking awkward? There we go. We got Darla in the house.
Yay.
You want to take it?
Darla says, my grandson Conrad made student council. He's in 3rd grade. So happy for him.
All
That's
right,
cool.
Conrad. It's good to have you here, Darla. Debbie says, first time we have been able to hear the celebrations live. I didn't know that. Did they hear us
so
live?
they were listening the whole time.
That's kind of cool.
Ah.
See, new things are happening in this place. Thank you for sharing that with us, Debbie. It's good to have you here.
That's awesome. Hey, Christy, celebrating being back with our Free family and enjoying being home here in North Carolina.
Christy, yes. It's so good to have you with us, you and Jen. Let's do a couple more, shall we? Roy, also in North Carolina. Man, we have all kinds of people in North Carolina. Made a step in faith, leaving my job of 9 years, and started a new one 1 week ago, and way less stress.
Amen, Roy.
Celebrating
Woo.
that with you, Roy, man. Thanks for sharing that with us.
And Jen says celebrating 2 years, 3 months on December 7th. We'll take it. That's so good.
Way to
Jen.
go, Jen. Glad you're with us tonight. All right, let's stop there, shall we?
I'm supposed to tell you to do the Advent candle.
Oh, did I forget the Advent candle? Where's Saya? Saya and Greg, are they here? We don't do shame around here. I got so excited to celebrate with you, I forgot to do Advent. So listen, Advent is it's one of the rituals and traditions we've been keeping here. And we love Advent. And if you don't know what Advent is, just in like 2 sentences, it's the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas. It's the time of expectant waiting and preparation for God's light to break into darkness. And we need that here. We need the reminder of Advent. So there's 4 candles in each week. I know if you're a church person, you're thinking, wait a minute, Advent started last Sunday. I know, but we do our things on Saturday night. So We're doing it on Saturday. And so there's 4 candles: hope, peace, love, and joy. And then the middle candle is the Christ candle, and it'll be lit on Christmas Eve. For us, Christmas Day. So Say and Greg are going to read an Advent prayer. It will be on a screen. Then they're going to light the first Advent candle of hope. Oh, do they need a mic? Just talk really loud. Talk really loud.
All right, this evening, we light the first candle of hope. This candle reminds us that God's work in the world is about lighting the light shining in the darkness. The hope of a new day, the hope of healing, the hope of recovery, the hope of being connected to something greater than ourselves, the hope of God again doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Tonight, we begin our journey to Christmas.
Thank you, guys. And I want to share with you now, Simone Meyer did a letter to your addiction, and it's a really powerful letter. And we've been doing these throughout the months, I don't know, for the last year. So I want you to see Simone's letter to your addiction. Take a look.
5th, 2017. This is a letter to my addiction. Dear addiction, looking back on my life, I now realize that you were always there, waiting for the right time to take me down. You were gradual and sly, persistent and nagging, but you took your time. You waited until you could see that I was trapped, broken, vulnerable, lost, and desolate. I didn't realize you were knocking at my door until it was too late. I had opened up that door for you and you came charging in. And take me down you did. But you didn't just take me, you took my family with you too. You wreaked havoc in my life. You threw me into a world of lies, deception, isolation, and exhaustion. You turned me into a mother who endangered her children, a wife that her husband and family were embarrassed by, and a person they began to hate. You turned me into a woman who, when she woke up each morning with the horror of not remembering anything from the night before, was reaching again for that bottle. To forget, to numb, to drown. You turned me into a broken shell of a person. You turned me into a woman who was so filled with despair that I thought it would be best for everyone if I just ended my life. It would have been easy, and you almost convinced me that one night to turn the wheel and take my car off the mountainside. But what you did not know through all this is that you gave me a gift, the gift of desperation. What you didn't know is that I had a God who had been watching over me. To be honest, I didn't know that either. Until one night, filled with despair, desolation, and pain. So much pain, I cried out into my empty bedroom, "Please help me, I can't do this anymore." That was the beginning of the end of the grip you had on me. I was propelled that last week to seek help from people who were the experts and people who had walked this path before me. I did the work and I built a solid foundation for the beautiful life that I live today. I want you to know that I'm eternally grateful for you. Because of you, I was able to acquire tools. And with these tools, I realized that I was and had been in the wrong place for quite a while. Thank you. Because of you, today I am free. Today I live a life more beautiful than I ever could have imagined. Today I walk this journey with others you also tried to take down. Together, we are powerful. We have the tools to keep you at bay. I know that you will never be gone, that you are watching, waiting. That's okay. Today I'm an honest woman, a kind woman, a loving woman. I have integrity, morals, and values. I am a mother who is loved again. I am a friend and a good human being. Today I live a life of service and I have community. I do the work. I know that if I live my life this way, there isn't much chance of you penetrating that. Today I know the truth, that I am a beautiful child of God. Signed, forever grateful, Simone.
Thank you, Simone. I promise you, there's like 100 boxes of Kleenex in here. You know what I love about this community? I've never heard people clap so much. Like Seda and Greg get up to light the candle and y'all clap. It's so awesome. We've been clapping all night. And I love the fact in this community we can share our stories openly and honestly. Like that's who we are. And then we celebrate it. And y'all know why? Because what don't we do here? Yeah, we don't do shame. I hope you like our new value signs. When you walk into what we're calling the big room, you're going to see authenticity and recovery, and you can read those in just a minute or whenever you want. And when you exit this place, you're reminded we don't do shame and that new life is always possible. All right, y'all, so here's the deal. We're going to start a new series tonight. It's a 4-week series, and it's called Traveling Light, Simplifying God and Recovery. Here's a little video. And let's play it again. It was so good. Let's do it again. Travel light. You know, Advent, like I said, it's the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas. It's the time of expectant waiting and preparation. It's the sustained hope that God hasn't given up on the world. The sustained hope that light is going to shine in the darkness. And it's interesting, isn't it? 4 weeks of waiting and preparing. We know something about that around here, don't we? What's the last 4 weeks been? Waiting and preparing. Y'all, I'll be honest with you. When I walked into this space on November 1st, it was the first day we took possession of this place, and it was Monday. I walked in on Monday morning, and I thought, man, how are we going to get everything ready by opening night, December 4th? And you might also remember on November 6th, should I use a handheld mic or should I keep going? It's on the way? Working out kinks. Thank y'all. Oh, I could have grabbed that.
Oh, come on. I was just messing around, making sure y'all were paying attention. All right, back to my story. So on November 6th, you might remember we all gathered in the old place to gather all the stuff and move into this new space. And it was so cool. We had so many volunteers. I mean, y'all really showed up for that. We did it in like an hour and a half. And y'all left like that afternoon, and I had a moment here by myself on that evening. And I remember looking around and thinking, how are we going to have everything perfect by our opening on December 4th? I mean, how's it all going to be perfect? And I will be honest with y'all, for the first 10 or so days of November, I was a complete mess. My interiors were all out of whack. Yeah, you're laughing at that. It was, man, I was trying to hold on to things. I was going to control things. I was going to make sure everything was perfect. I laid in bed one night and I told Tammy, I said, man, I don't know what's going on with myself. I feel depressed. I think I'm depressed. And I haven't battled depression in a long time. And man, I'm up in the morning with the birds and I'm happy. And now I don't even want to get out of bed. And I'm exhausted. I don't even want to face the day. And I was telling her, man, I don't know why it feels like I should feel more grateful. It feels like I should feel more gratitude. I mean, we have all these great people around us and these over 100 volunteers and people giving up their time and energy. And we have this great gift of a space thanks to our brothers and sisters at University Park. How come I don't feel more gratitude? And what I can tell y'all in my experience, when we are striving for perfection, it will always leave you exhausted, scared, and overwhelmed, and you will miss the gifts of the people that are all around you. And the truth is, you were not created to carry that heavy suitcase of perfect. You know what I mean? So why are we talking about travel light during the holidays? I mean, the holidays are a great time, right? It's a time of celebration. It's a time of joy. It's a time of family gatherings and friends. But is it true the holidays can also be a heavy time, right? Because everything has to be perfect. The holiday decorations, the Christmas decorations, they have to be perfect. The family gathering, even though everything going on in the world, the family gathering, the Christmas dinner, it has to be perfect. Let me know how that one goes. The gifts that you buy for your family and friends and loved ones, it doesn't matter how deep into debt you go, those gifts are going to be perfect, and everything has to be perfect. And let's be honest, Jesus is not exactly helpful to us on this point. See, there's this point in the New Testament, in Matthew's Gospel, so keep in mind, there's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew chapters 5, 6, and 7 are this place called the Sermon on the Mount. We've read that before. In fact, if you read those 3 chapters, you can read this entire sermon in about 18 minutes. It's the bread and butter to Jesus' teachings. And right in the middle of the sermon, he drops this bomb on us. Let's take a look. Be perfect. Therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. And some of you, you read that, you hear that, and you're like, Jesus, come on. What do you mean be perfect? I mean, how am I supposed to hold it all together? My son is out on the streets relapsing. Perfect? How? The friend that I drove to detox died in front of me. Perfect? How? The one that I love is relapsing on fentanyl. Perfect? How? By the way, these are all stories that came out of this community just in the last week. And not to mention the opioid crisis. Now they're calling it the fentanyl crisis. Numbers this country has never seen. We saw them just 2 weeks ago. Over 100,000 deaths of overdose in this nation in a 12-year period that ended in April. We've never seen numbers like that. Perfect? And my brothers and sisters, I do see the things you are holding in your interiors. This community sees it. Your exteriors do not have to be perfect. You do not have to carry it all. And when you look at that verse that line from Jesus, the whole context is about love. It's about loving people, actual people. It's about loving people who are different than you, even loving your enemies. It isn't about putting on the perfect performance. It's about being made perfect in love. In fact, that word perfect, in the Greek, keep in mind the New Testament, it's written in Greek. In the Greek, that word perfect is this word teleos. And it literally translates to be made complete. So my brothers and sisters, what are the things you need to let go of so that you might be made more complete? Because see, striving towards perfection, it will always leave us exhausted and scared and overwhelmed, and you will miss the gifts of the people that are all around you. Like this gift. Y'all recognize this guy? Yeah, my boy Aaron Zetek. Aaron Zetek with his handlebar mustache and all. He comes in, he was here on Monday morning on November 1st. He shows up in his t-shirt and his shorts. He walks in with his tools, and he says, well, you didn't tell us exactly what you needed, so I just figured I'd show up. That dude was here every day that week, every afternoon and evening, working late into the evening. You know what he did the next week? He took a week off of work to come and volunteer. And he's got a job, full-time job. He's an engineer. In fact, he might hate me for saying this, but I'm just going to say he's a rocket scientist. He took a week off of work to come volunteer. You know what he did the next week? He took another week off to come and volunteer his time, a vacation week to spend here, to vacation here at Free. In fact, there's not a project in this space that doesn't have his fingerprints on it. And Chris Watson is the same. This dude was here all the time. There's not anything they didn't touch. And it's interesting because he never wanted praise. He never wanted recognition. Even when I texted him and said, Aaron, do you care if I show your picture and say a few words about you? He said, as long as you mention all the other volunteers. It's the danger of lifting up one person because, see, if we were to mention everybody, we'd be here all night. But what I can tell you is so many people were here giving their time and energy into this place, volunteering who they were, giving everything they had. And like I said, it took me 10 days to let go of perfect, thinking that I had to control everything and make all the decisions. 10 days through lots of prayer and talking with some of you all that I was able to loosen my grip and recognize the gift. And you know, it was Aaron's dad, Jim Zetek. Is Jim in here tonight? Oh, he's in the back. There he is. This dude was also here many, many hours, almost as many hours as Aaron. He pulled me aside one evening a couple weeks ago, and he said, Ryan, I got an idea for your sermon on the opening night. And I said, really? Please do tell. I love ideas. He said, no, hear me out. Ryan, you've had to let go of a lot of things here. Mm-hmm. He said, and sometimes I think when we think of letting go, we just think of like letting go and the thing falls to the floor and it shatters in a million pieces. He said, but healthy letting go is when you actually hand that thing over to other people, and that's what you've been doing here. You see, what things do we need to let go of so that we might be made more complete? And it was a couple of weeks ago, too, that man, I was leaving here. It was late one night, and I got in my car, and sometimes, I don't know if y'all do this, I turn up the music real loud, and I'll just hash things out with God. So here I am praying. It's the good, the bad, the ugly, and this conversation was good, kind of. I said, God, it's so amazing to me that so many people are invested in my, capital M, capital Y, my vision. Because still, after all these years in sobriety, the root to my problems is rooted in selfishness and self-centeredness. And sometimes when you hash these things out with God, God will speak back to you. Is it true? And sometimes God speaks, and it is so clear, it's almost audible. And it was one of those nights, God spoke back to me so clearly. He said, Ryan, it is not just your vision. It is their vision too. In fact, it's their vision as much as it is your vision. And Ryan, don't ever forget, these are the ones that carried you. These people carried you when you were most exhausted and most overwhelmed and most scared and couldn't see the gift that was right in front of you. My brothers and sisters, you must allow others to carry you in your weakest moments. This is the way of God. This is the way of recovery. This is the way of community. And you know, it took me, recovery taught me this. You know, Tammy, my wife, we spent Thanksgiving with Matt. Where's Matt? I saw him earlier. I don't know, he's back there somewhere. We spent Thanksgiving with Matt. She started launching into one of my drunk stories, a story that I had forgotten about. She's telling Matt this on Thanksgiving Day. Happy Thanksgiving. And, you know, it was sometime before I got sober. We went on a family cruise. Man, it was a whole family, grandparents and all, the whole shebang. And all they talked about all week was how they wanted this family photo. They wanted a family photograph of the family cruise. Pretty reasonable request. So they got it set up for one night. If you haven't ever been on a cruise, they have these different photographers at different places, and this one was set up at the entrance of the dining room, right at the bottom of the stairs. And the problem is, I started drinking that day like I did. And then the problem is, from there, from drinking that day, I went to the captain's party where I drank some more. And then I started making my way to the family photograph station to get the family photograph of the family cruise. And the problem is, there was like a staircase. And so when I took that step, well, I just started somersaulting down this entire flight of stairs. And it scraped up my nose, scraped up my face. And then I stood at the family photograph station because I made it down there. And then I couldn't stand up. I was too drunk. My brother-in-law, who's here tonight, he was trying to hold me up. And the photographer would say, just hold still real quick, and I'd fall over. Still to this day, we don't have a family photograph of that family cruise. I then made it to dinner, and I thought it'd be a good idea to not order just one lobster, but 2 lobsters. And then I passed out before the lobsters came. And see, enough time has passed where I can kind of laugh at this, even though it's really embarrassing. But enough time has passed, and Tammy was telling me this story, and she was telling this story out loud. And what stands out to her is different than what stands out to me. Because see, what I remember is the next day. And see, it was the next day. And some of y'all will relate to this. Waking up with all that guilt and shame. And who do I need to make an apology to? What kind of lies do I need to tell? So I'm going around to different family members. Mom, I'm so sorry that happened. I don't know what happened. Someone must have spiked my drink. I don't know what happened. Maybe the seas were rough. I don't know what happened. Maybe I spent too much time in the sun that day. You know the lies we make up. This stuff we say. And what I remember is the promises I made. I told Tammy, I'm done drinking. Man, I'm done. I can't handle it. It doesn't treat me well. I promise you I'm never going to drink again. God, I promise you I'm never going to drink again. And when I said that on that day, alcohol looked me square in the eyes and said, you think you can leave me? You think you can leave me? I'm your favorite mistress. I've got you right in the palm of my hand. You think you can leave me? I've already got you obsessed with me in your mind. Guess who was drunk that same day? Yeah, y'all relate to this? I know in this room, this isn't a unique story. And see, sometime after that, I met with 2 guys in a coffee shop. And they were from this 12-step program. I didn't know anything about the 12 steps or any 12-step programs. I didn't know anything about this thing called Alcoholics Anonymous. And they started telling me that there was a way out of the chaos and that I never had to drink again. And I remember thinking, how? No, that might work for you guys, but you don't know my story. I've tried to stop drinking. I've tried so many times. I've tried so many different methods. That doesn't work. And for Pete's sakes, would you stop bringing God into this? This is not a God problem. This is a drinking problem that I have. Believe me, I've got a biblical studies degree, a master's of divinity degree. I'm a pastor. This is not a God problem. Don't tell me I'm spiritually disconnected. You know what they said to me? Ryan, you are going to have to let others carry you. You see, I could not see it at the time, but they were creating space for my healing, my recovery, and my spiritual connection at a time when I hated myself, at a time when I questioned my very belonging with all the God stuff, at a time when I was exhausted and overwhelmed and confused, and when I couldn't see the gift right in front of me. They introduced me to some other people who showed me the way out. They led me to a God who did for me what I could never, ever do for myself. And they carried me to a place of healing and belonging. And see, it's true. Religion taught me a lot from the time I was a little boy. But it did not teach me how to let go, how to surrender. Because I think only desperation could do that. What are the things you need to let go of so that you might be made more complete? So I want to close with a story. It's from Mark's Gospel, chapter 2. There's this beautiful story in Mark's gospel, and it's a story Jesus has been traveling from town to town. He's been spreading this message of hope and healing and God's love. And he comes back to his hometown, and when he gets to his homtown and he starts to teach, there's this massive crowd of people. And among this crowd of people, there's Jesus, of course, and there's a man there who would have been considered unwell. And then there was 4 of his friends, and then there were some religious leaders. And I want you all to hear this story, because I think it's what we're about here. Check it out. It's only 7 verses. When he, Jesus, returned to Capernaum after some days, it was reported that he was at home. So many gathered around that there was no longer room for them, not even in front of the door. And he was speaking the word to them. Then some people came, bringing him a paralyzed man, carried by 4 of them. And when they could not bring him to Jesus because of the crowd, they removed the roof above him. And after having dug through it, they let down the mat on which the paralytic lay. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Son, your sins are forgiven." And let's pause there for just one moment. Because see, back in that time and in that day, this man was a complete nobody. I mean, he was pushed all the way to the margins of society. I mean, he would have been completely useless in this society. He couldn't raise a family. He couldn't work the fields. And this was a man deeply in need of healing, of restoration. He was probably exhausted, fearful, and overwhelmed. Probably couldn't see the gift that was right in front of him. When his 4 friends started to carry him, he's probably like, "What are y'all doing?" And when they start to do something stupid like climb up the side of the house carrying him, he's probably like, "What are y'all doing?" And then they start to tear a hole in the roof. And he's like, "Don't y'all know this isn't going to work? Do you know how many things I've tried? I've been this way for years. It's not going to work." You see, the common thinking of the day, a narrative, by the way, that was perpetuated by the religious leaders, was that this man would have had this condition because of some wrongdoing in his past, or maybe some family members' wrongdoing in their past. And when this man's 4 friends carry him to the place of healing and lower him down through the roof, what does Jesus say to him? "You loser, you reject, you bastard child, what are you doing coming into my living room?" No. He says, "Son." Do y'all see how big that is? The crowds would have gone silent. I mean, you could have probably heard a pin drop in the room. Maybe there was a whisper. Did Rabbi Jesus, did he just call this reject, this loser, this sinner, did he just call him son? Some of you in this room have been just amazed that you've heard those same words. Or maybe you've longed to hear those words. And Jesus says to this man in need of healing, "You belong. You're God's son." What does Jesus say to him? "Your sins are forgiven." And I know for some of you hear that word sin, it's a trigger word. You're like, "Oh man, that triggers me." Well, don't let it. When you hear that word sin, or when you see that word sin in the scriptures, be reminded of all the things that keep you disconnected, that keep you from living into your true self, all the things that keep you from experiencing God in the most fullest of ways. And then what's he say? Forgiveness. That word forgiveness, in the Greek, it's this word aphiemi, and it literally means to release or to let go. So Jesus says to this man, "You, my son, are free. And you totally belong." You see, what are the things we need to be released from? We need to let go of so that we might be made complete. And by the way, how did the religious leaders respond? Check it out. It's the last 2 verses. Now, some of the scribes, the religious leaders of the day, were sitting there questioning in their hearts, "Why does this fellow speak in this way? It is blasphemy." You see, they were threatened. They were the gatekeepers. They were the ones who supposedly controlled who was in with the God stuff and who was out, who God loved and who God didn't love. And so let me just take this opportunity to remind this community. It does not matter how checkered your past is. It doesn't even matter how checkered your present is. It doesn't matter how unwell you have been or how unwell you still are. You completely belong. When God sees you, God sees sons and daughters. You are free. But it all raises some interesting questions, doesn't it? So let me just leave you with a few questions to ponder. Are you going to allow this community to carry you in your weakest moments, in your moments when you're most exhausted, most overwhelmed, most scared? And are you going to show up for others to carry them to the places of healing and belonging, to the places of recovery, to the places of spiritual connection? And are we as a community going to keep ripping off the roof to help others experience God's healing, even if it means breaking some of the religious norms? Because, see, during the holidays, when people are struggling the most, when the battle of addiction is most intense, when the numbers have skyrocketed with overdose death rates, and when family members and friends are having their hearts ripped out because they're watching their loved ones suffer, and with people wondering if God is active in the world, if God loves them, if there's even a God at all, we have to keep ripping off the roof so that others might experience God's healing. You have to rip off the roof if the light is to shine through the darkness. And see, when we carry one another, we are indeed traveling light because we are doing it, journeying together. So I want you to take 60 seconds. We'll throw some questions on the screen. Let this be a time of reflection for you. Let this be a time of prayer for you. And then we'll come back. Y'all can keep reflecting on those questions throughout the week. I think they're important ones. They're ones we're going to revisit throughout this 4-week series. And listen, if it's your first time here at Free, I mean, it's everyone's first time here at this Free, but if it's your first time in this community, every single week we have a guest storyteller to come and share some of their experience with this stuff around the theme of the evening. And tonight we are honored to have Kevin Peterson in the house, all the way from, I know it's Florida, but what town in Florida? Jacksonville Beach, Florida. We're almost as warm as Florida right now. Is it true? We were this week, though. Okay. Hey, Kevin, it's such a great honor to have him. You might remember, I think it was about a year ago, we brought him in via live stream to join us one Saturday night. But I said, Kevin, we got to get you here in person. Kevin is the founder of the Chronic Hope Institute, where he has worked with literally thousands of families over the years through parenting and codependency and addiction issues. So I said, Brother Kevin, come give us a good word for the holidays. So Kevin, come up here and join us with your therapy dog. Kevin, what's your dog's name?
Bert.
Everyone say hi to Bert. He's the first dog guest storyteller we've had. Was that me or Bert? All right, so Kevin, let's jump into things. Thanks for being here, man. I told Kevin I wanted people to hear just Kevin is also in recovery, been sober for many, many years. How many years?
30.
30 years. That's a long time to be sober.
Yeah.
There you go. So, Kevin, can you give us just kind of the 2-minute backstory of your recovery and how you started working with families?
Yeah, 2 minutes? Sure. I grew up in a house of addiction. My mom was a prescription drug addict. And so my initial introduction to the world of addiction was being the family member. And then I started using when I was about 13, 14. And then my family sort of circled the wagons when I was 27 and said, that's it. If you're going to choose the life of addiction, that means you're going to choose not to be part of the family. And it took a little while, but eventually I ended up getting sober. And then when I was 43 years old and 16 years sober, I had an epiphany that I needed to do something more than just go to a meeting, sponsor the occasional guy, and do the once a day or maybe once a week thing. And I knew the people that had guided me through this process of recovery were people that had spent their entire lives committed to helping others. And that's when I knew I actually was going to either be a therapist or a minister. And I actually got into Regis for the marriage and family program.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I didn't know a minister was on your radar.
Well, at one point I actually looked into going, Loyola of Maryland has the only APA accredited PhD in pastoral counseling.
Really?
And I looked into going to that program, but it was another 5 years of school. I'm like, I'm good. You know? So
I understand that.
yeah, right.
I thought
yeah.
I'd never make it through.
But yeah.
So, okay, Kevin, I want you to tell us, so with your work at the Chronic Hope Institute, you work with families, you're working with issues of addiction, and we talked about on the phone this week, man, the holidays, just in this community, we see so many people struggling, falling off the wagon, or struggling to get sober. I encounter so many families who say, man, what do we do? What do we do? What tips can you give? What do you say to people? On both sides, the addict, we're a community of addicts and loved ones of addicts and spiritual refugees, but what do you say to both of them?
Well, you know, one of the big lessons I learned through my own recovery, you know, and I'm actually in recovery for drugs and alcohol and for codependency, so I actively work both sides. And on the addiction side, the drugs and alcohol side, one of the things I always tell people is, you know, you don't have to stay. If you're not comfortable in the situation, if there are people that are making you uncomfortable, leave. It's okay. They'll be okay. You'll be okay. It's you know, you have to put, this is when we talk about putting your sobriety first. Don't worry about what they think or what they feel or what they say. If you feel uncomfortable or you feel challenged, take a walk.
Yeah, and that's hard to do in early sobriety. I mean, because we lived for many, many years without those boundaries. So, I mean, what you're talking about is putting those boundaries up and then actually sticking to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other big one is people pleasing, because, you know, I want everyone to like me. I want to make sure I'm part of the crew. I want to make sure that my family's happy with me, and that like what you were just talking about, you know, being perfect. You know, I want everyone to see me in a certain way. I can't step away. I can't walk out the door because I feel uncomfortable, because then what will they think of me?
Yeah.
You know?
By show of hands, come on, who wrestles with this stuff? Yeah, that's true.
And then on the family side, I think the really important thing to do within the family structure is, and I was just literally was just having this conversation yesterday with one of my families, is have the conversation ahead of time. Set up the parameters ahead of time. This family has a daughter that is in treatment, and they're going to go visit her in treatment, and it's their first Christmas together with her being sober. And they're like, well, you know, we don't want to do anything to hurt her. We don't want to do anything to set her off. And I'm like, well, that's not really how it works, you know. But what I want you guys to do is consider, when you go to see your daughter, what is it you want, you know, and talk about that ahead of time and say, hey, you know, what are you comfortable with? What are we comfortable with? I mean, have the conversation. Don't be afraid of the conversation. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing.
And I see that with families that they don't talk about it because we don't want to trigger him. We don't want to set him off, so we just won't say anything. And man, those first Thanksgivings, those first Christmas, I mean, there's no way around. Part of it, it's just going to be awkward. There's going to be some awkward moments. I mean, you're sober, so you're a little shaky already. I mean, there's going to be some awkward moments.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Kevin? I didn't email this to you, by the way. I just want to ask you.
Oh, great.
What's the what is the number one thing that families battle as they're watching their loved ones? Either they're watching them in active addiction, or they're watching them get sober, and there's that fear of, are they going to go back out? Is this for real this time? I mean, what's the thing they battle most?
You know, I think, and this is for me too, because, you know, my mom actually died 7 years ago from her addiction. And the hardest part of having a loved one or a family member that's struggling is letting go of control, you know, because we spend our entire lives running circles around her, you know, solving problems, cleaning up messes, coming up with cover stories. And when we finally got to a place where we were like, you know, I just can't do that anymore. I can't solve your problem. But what I can do is take care of me, and I can tell you I love you, but if you're going to choose to do this, I'm going to choose not to participate. And that's hard for families.
And when you say not participate, so you said I told her I loved her, but I didn't participate. What's that? What do you mean by that?
Well, it means that if they're going to continue to use or continue to follow that behavior pattern, whether it's using or controlling or whatever it is, I'm going to disengage. I'm not going to participate. You know, I'm not going to, if the family event is going to be everybody getting drunk as usual, then I'm not going to come. I'm sorry, but I just can't participate in that because it's just not who I am. It's not what I do. Or the other flip side of that is being able to tell someone, you know, I really love you, but the environment that we're in is so oppressive and so controlling and so overbearing that I don't feel comfortable and I don't feel safe. Yeah. And so I can't do that. But and I think the cure to that is having the conversation ahead of time and just saying, hey, let's talk about what everybody's expectations are. You know, what do you need? What do I need?
Yeah, so to keep that line of thinking, what do you think the number one thing is? Again, for the addicts and alcoholics and the loved ones of, what's the number one thing to let go of?
Control.
I don't know anything about that, man. Tell me about it.
If I could figure that out, you know, that'd be a great day. You mentioned it. It's hard to watch someone who's actively using and not feel like you need to, you know, to intervene and step in or run their lives or, yeah, and it's hard. You know, but yeah, and families have created a career on making sure the trains run on time. You know, that has been their responsibility, is to make sure my 35-year-old son, you know, I'm doing his laundry, I'm packing his meals, I'm paying his bills, I'm solving his problems. Well, what's his incentive to solve the problems? He knows you're going to do it.
So what do you tell those families? What do you say to them?
Well, I say, make an appointment, read my books. No, I say, you know, look, this is the hard part of being the family member. This is the hard part. It's about setting boundaries. I mean, it really is about setting boundaries. And the most important thing about boundaries to remember is the boundaries aren't about the other person. The boundaries are about you. You know, the boundaries are about you saying, this is my line. This is where I go. And it's not about controlling them or controlling their behavior. It's about saying, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Yeah.
If you are, that's cool. And I think one of the really, I mean, the most important piece, and this is, you know, this is the hard part for families, is that you have to put the other person in God's hands. You know, that's the challenge. But they've made a career out of them running that person's life. But, you know, those two things don't go together.
And I thought it was interesting what you said to me when we were sitting in the back. You said it's people of faith. People of faith struggle with this the most.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, I'm a person of faith, and I love faith, and it's wonderful, and it's a huge piece. I have to tell you something I thought of on the way out here. The first church I belonged to in Denver was Central Presbyterian downtown. It's a beautiful old church. And the minister there and I were very close, and he knew my story. And he said, I want to be clear with you, Kevin. I know it's not my job to keep you sober. I know that's AA's job. My job is to expand your belief with your higher power.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I can come here. You know? But I think that's the thing, right? Is that families of faith struggle the most because they truly believe, you know, I'm a person of faith. I go to church. I have religion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I always look at them and I'm like, then why are you getting in the way of God's work? And they just look at me like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you keep running this person's life. You're not allowing God to get into their lives and help them. You know, and that's a tough challenge, you know, because who knows what's going to happen.
Dude, I mean, that's the thing that kept me from getting sober. I thought, man, I'm religious enough. I go to church. I'm a pastor, man. I mean, why can't I do this? It goes back to that control issue.
Yeah. I had a great friend that I actually, still a great friend in sobrieties. He was 90 days sober, and I said, well, you know, make sure you get your relationship with God. And he's like, oh, I'm Christian. I'm born again. I've got that. I said, yeah, but the funny thing is you keep relapsing. And he looked at me with, you know, fire in his eyes. And I'm like, dude, I love you. But evidently your relationship with God isn't working. You know, maybe you need a new one.
Did he punch you?
No, he ended up making amends to me because he wanted to punch me. But that's the thing, right? Is that we all walk in with a preconceived idea of what, and yet that's the, you know, but that was the relationship with God that I had where I was using and hurting people.
Yeah, and by the way, it's not just the God stuff. Whatever your God is, it could be money, your career. Well, I've got enough money. I'm buy my way out of this. My career's good enough. It'll keep me so. I mean, all the stuff, all the lies we tell ourselves. Control. That's right.
That's all.
So, Kevin, in just our last minute or so together left, I want you to tell people about. You do have 2 books out.
Yeah.
And you have an online program. I think people would be interested in this. Would you tell them a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. So I released my first book 2 or 3 years ago. It's called Chronic Hope, Parenting the Addicted Child. It's just a really step-by-step plan of what to do if you have a child. And I want to be clear, child can be 16, 26, 36, 46. You know, we all know people that act like children that are in their 50s and 60s. Yeah. There may be some here. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, if my wife was here, she'd say, yeah, there's one on the stage with a dog. You know, but she's not here. She's watching though. She better be. Yeah. Amy. Hi, sweetheart. And then I wrote another one last year. I released it wrote it during the pandemic. It's called Chronic Hope, Families and Addiction. The concept there was that I wanted to break it down into 3 categories. There's sort of before, the phase 1 is like before treatment or before sobriety, when the family comes and they're just like, I mean, the first phone call is always the same. What do we do? You know, we need to bring Ryan in, you got to fix him. I'm like, yeah, I don't do that. I can help you and with your system, you know. And then the second phase is, okay, now we've got Ryan's getting help. Sorry to use you. So Ryan's getting help. Now it's time to focus on the family, you know. And that's the part generally where the families are like, okay, talk to you later. You know, we're not interested. You know, we don't want to turn that light back on us. You know, what do you mean we got to learn to do things differently? You know, and I'm like, well, yeah, because the whole system has to change, not just the individual, right? And then the third phase is how do we reintegrate and bring everybody home? And the number one question I get is, what's the most important thing I can do for my loved one to support their sobriety or support their recovery? And I always say the same thing, get into your own recovery.
Did y'all hear that?
Let me say it again.
Yeah.
Get into your own recovery.
These are for the people in the back.
Those are my people in the back. That's where I sit.
Okay, cool. So for the online program, how do people jump on and get a hold of it? Because the books are free right now.
Yeah, right now you can get both books, download PDF for free. I think there's something on the screen.
Danny, throw it on the screen for us.
I think there's this handsome guy in a blue shirt up there that is selling a book. You can get them. You can go to the chronichope.us and the offer is on there. And if that fails, ask Danny.
Ask Danny.
Danny does everything on that
He'll
world.
just throw you another.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then we are currently offering, I'm going to say it's like a 2 or 3 hour videos where I answer a lot of questions and go through everything for about $97. It's a lot cheaper than spending time with me, you know, which is probably what people like.
Well, dude, thank you so much for being with us on our opening night here at Free. It's so
I'm
good to
honored.
have you here.
I'm honored. This is wonderful.
All right, brother. Kevin will stick around tonight. If you have any questions or you want to talk to Kevin more, if you want to connect with Kevin, can I have you hang out in the lobby or cafe area somewhere? And people
Yeah,
can chat?
Bird's going to be signing autographs out in the back.
All right, that's what you need, an autograph from Bird.
Okay.
All right, y'all, here's what we're going to do. Thank you, Kevin.
Yep,
Yeah,
you
you can
bet.
go back down.
Okay.
Good to have you, brother.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Bert, good to have you too, man. All right, the way we end things, and yes, tonight we're just going a little over. Usually we're done by 8:15. We'll still, oh shoot, it's only 8:07. We might not go over at all. We always close things down with heartaches because y'all suck at carrying burdens alone. You weren't created for it. You weren't created to carry these heavy heartaches alone, so we do it together as a community. So just like we do with celebrations, you take 3 minutes. If you're online, take your 3 minutes and give us your heartaches in the comments. We'll include y'all in on it. And what things do you need prayer for? Do you need to lift up? Do you need to release and let go of and let the community and God carry you because you can't do it on your own? And what I'm going to do, take 3 minutes and y'all listen, there's nothing too big or too small. Don't give us a dissertation on your problems. We don't need that. We just need a sentence or two so we can lift you up. There's a prayer team here led by Chandra Blosser, who is also our on-site trauma therapist here at Free, who started this week. Yes, Chandra. That wasn't a heartache. That was a celebration. But her office, if you want to check out her office to see where she does her thing, she's all the way down the hallway on the right. And so grateful to have you here and doing your thing here, Chandra. So listen, let's take 3 minutes and I'll give you this mic if you want to lift up a heartache so this community can lift you up and encourage you and text you and call you and do whatever we do. All right, take 3.
I have an 18-year-old daughter who left home to live in her car, and she is living
I'm blushing.
Did you see this?
Yeah, and y'all, no way. Isn't it so cool? Our kids program. Alyssa's back with 50 kids. I don't know how many kids are back there, but what is it?
There's a lot.
There's a lot. But they actually like get checked in and it's professional. Alyssa led us through this like beautiful safe sanctuary training so that your kids, if you have kids here, they are safe and protected. We know what to do if there's a problem. Some of us know what to do. But anyway, it's just so cool. And she's leading them. She does like meditation with them and prayers and recovery work. And she uses the scripture that I use for the night. Anyway, I'm just so proud of what's happening with our free kids. But back to heartaches. Do you want to take a couple or take the first one?
Sure.
Our online people.
Roy says, asking for prayers for my nephew Corey, who is dealing with deep depression. Thank you for sharing that with us, Roy.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here and being willing to share your heart.
Amy joining us on the YouTube says, I'm having a really hard time getting day one. What I want you all to do is extend your hands out like this and just send good vibes and prayers and energy towards Amy. Amy, we are praying for you and lifting you up. You can do this, girl. You can do this. God's got you. Keep going. Stay connected to people. Get that day one. Holding you in prayer. By the way, a whole community was just extending love to you. I hope, could they see that?
I wish that, I don't know. I wish that she could have
They
seen
were,
that.
though. I promise you. All right.
Jen says, heartache, more like depression, anxiety. I'm sober, yes. I'm super busy with work and Jack's fairy tale rescues, but haven't put my sobriety first. I haven't gone to meetings since my trip to Colorado. I'm saying it here, being open and knowing I need to get back to putting my sobriety first. None of what God has blessed me with would be possible without working my sobriety. Well, there you have it, Jen. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, and Jen, we have one of our value statements on our wall. It says, my recovery is worth it. One day at a time, I will focus on putting my recovery first so that everything I love doesn't come last. Keep doing your thing. Again, stay connected.
And call us anytime.
Oh, is it mine? Oh, yeah, you just did the last one. Kristen says, for a friend to stay on his path towards a better life, and for my own journey to do the same. Kristen, lifting up your friend for him to stay on the path. And I think we're going to cut things off there. We're lifting all our online community up and this community. Y'all, there's some real heartache that happens, and we're not scared of that here. It's not like we enjoy the heartache, but we embrace it together, and that's what this community is about. So thank you for being a part of it, even when it can be really uncomfortable. And there's a lot of people here you may not know, and you're in a bigger space, and it's part of who we are, and it's part of what we're about. And listen, one of the ways we stay connected, or, to do all of this stuff, we say this every week, and there's no shame in this. It takes giving. And so I want to take a moment and thank you all for your very generous giving. Seriously, do you remember the Welcome Home campaign we did? That was last summer. That's what made all this possible. So thank you for your generous giving along the way. And we do have giving boxes, one here and one outside by the coffee bar. And it's your giving. It's the giving that helps sustain this community and keep this place going and keep these doors open. I can't wait for you all to see the cafe that's going to open, a daily cafe with lattes and espresso and I don't know, all the things a cafe has. That's going to be opening up hopefully early 2022. And this place is going to be a place of safety for people who need it most. It's going to be a community for those struggling, and we want to keep this thing going. And by the way, there are 3 ways to give. You can see them on your screen. We'll throw them up for you. The first way is to simply download the app, Free Spiritual Community. It's free, and you can, we got a little music going in there. You can donate there. You can do it weekly, bi-weekly, or one time, however you want to do it. You can also give on the website at freespiritualcommunity.com/give, and you can give that way. Or you could text the number on your screen and it'll send you through a set of instructions. And all of these ways are safe, simple, and secure. And seriously, y'all, I mean, we see each and every gift that comes in, and so grateful that you all invest not in my vision, but in our vision. It fills me with all sorts of gratitude. So here's what we'll do. Let's close with a prayer, shall we? I want you to take a moment. My sister was here earlier today. She's here now, but she went through this whole place and said the most beautiful prayers and did a cleansing ritual of energy with some burning sage. It smelled like some other stuff in here for a while, but I was like, oh shoot, they're gonna get the wrong idea here. But it was such a beautiful ceremony she did. And so I just want you to, if you're comfortable, just open your hands and take a moment and take a big, deep breath in. Invite the God of the universe into your breath, because there is no way for God to get any closer to you than that. Let's pray the serenity prayer together. If you don't know it, it'll be on your screen. And it goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. My three brothers and sisters, may you go in grace and peace and stick around and drink some coffee and connect. Love y'all.